Well, the Eagles won, but it was not pretty, at least on the offensive side of the ball. However, the silver lining is that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown might have gotten on the same page. Meanwhile, the bigger shock in the aftermath is that Jaire Alexander is stepping away from the Birds. Although that does leave an unexpected opportunity for Howie Roseman to swoop in and steal Asante Samuel Jr. from the Steelers. So let's talk about that, the road ahead in the NFC, and everything else you may have missed from the win over the Packers. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? The Eagles got the win, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That was the ugliest game I've seen in person. Don't get me wrong, I loved getting to see the game at Lambeau Field and would definitely recommend it to anyone considering making the trip in the future. However, I never expected to see the score entering the fourth quarter 3-0. Especially since before heading into the bye, it seemed like the O-line issues had been fixed and offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo had figured some stuff out.
I thought you said you had it together. You were solid.
I mean, thankfully they won because like I do every single time after an Eagles victory, I'm going to give away two Eagles tickets to one commenter on this video. So go drop a comment, leave a takeaway from the game, something there. Mine, the biggest one is obviously we're back to what we were saying previously. The offense has got to find some consistency. By the way, just make sure to do me a favor and subscribe to the channel as well so that you can get entered to win those two tickets courtesy of SeatGeek. Amazingly, there's still nearly 40% of you who watch regularly but haven't hit that sub button. But reminder, it's free, doesn't cost you a thing, and for the giveaways like these, I'm never going to make you pay. Just do me a favor and make sure to subscribe. Anyway, what really blows my mind is that Philly only picked up 184 yards on their first 45 plays. Granted, there's a silver lining, which I'll get to, but believe it or not, the Packers' numbers were even worse than that on offense. Which is pretty hilarious when you realize the Packers once again lost by a yard. Where if only they had a go-to play to pick up a short yardage situation, things might have turned out differently. Yet unlike the Eagles, who are unstoppable despite everyone knowing they're going to run the tush-push, Green Bay's go-to on a 4th and 1 is inside zone, and Moro Ojomo saw it all the way.
It's Jacobs. Flag flies. Jacobs is brought down.
This is sick. It is 4th and 1 for the Packers. They hustled a line, had a 9-yard completion on 3rd and 10. They want to convert here. They want to tie. They want to take the lead. Eagles are going to blow this run up. Defensive tackles. Look at the displacement. Jacobs gets turned back. Flag is illegal formation. Fumble, turnover on downs. Winning play by the Eagles defense. Now, somebody pointed out to me that if you listen to this play, right, you hear something, which is Moro Ojomo, the Eagles defensive tackle here, yelling. Right, there he is. Inside zone this way. Inside zone this way. Inside zone this way, right? Now, how did he know that? Well, here is last week against the Panthers. It is, after the 2-minute warning, it is 3rd and 2. The Packers just convert a 2nd and 12 to get to 3rd and 2. They go no huddle, hurry up to the line. They're in 2-by-2 right here, right? 2 receivers, both sides of the formation. Back is offset and a little bit back from Jordan Love. And they run inside zone, right? Go ahead and pick up 2 yards. First down. Here's another 3rd and 2 against the Steelers, right? They had a 2nd and 4. They ran it, and then they went up the line quick, no huddle. This time they're in 3-by-1. 3 receivers to the top, but that back is still offset. Jordan Love's right. They go ahead and snap this quick, and they run inside zone. Last one for you. 3rd and 1, third quarter against the Lions, They had a 3-yard run on 2nd and 4. It's 3rd and 1. They get to the line fast. 3-by-1, back offset behind Jordan Love a little bit to the right, and they're going to run inside zone. So this is no huddle when they're in short yardage. They get to the line fast, and they do this, which takes us back to this Eagles play. 9-yard pickup on 3rd and 10. You can see Nakobe Dean right here pointing out, to me, he's pointing out where Josh Jacobs is, maybe something else, I don't know. But once Ojomo gets his eyes in the backfield, once he gets his eyes up and he sees Love and Jacobs offset there to his right, he starts telling everybody, inside zone this way. And then off the line, fast Moro Ojomo, upfield. And then you get the stop. And it should have been the game-winning stop. There was another drive, whatever. Little film study, baby. That's sick.
As a runner, it don't never feel good. I mean, whenever they know what we doing, they don't never feel good because it changed my mind on how I'm going to run the ball, if we just being honest. It makes me kind of like guess what I'm going to do. And obviously, you know, people are smart. If we got cold words or whatever, you hear it a few times, like you gonna eventually react to it. You know, I mean that's football, but yeah, I mean it's never a good feeling.
How did it change the way you ran on that play?
I mean they called it out. We called our play. They said inside zone, it's coming right here. So I kind of like didn't want to run right there, you know, but yeah, that's just how I played out.
I don't know what's crazier, the fact that Ojomo called out the play or the fact that Jordan Love was sitting there hearing Ojomo call that out, you just watch the clips there, and still snap the ball. Granted, kudos to Big Mo because that wasn't a random occurrence on Monday night. With Fran Duffy pointing out another instance earlier in the game where Vic Fangio's film study is really paying off combined with Ojomo's crazy football IQ. Like, for example, check it out when he motioned to Jahad Campbell to make sure he was not going to impede his one-on-one with the tight end so that he could stop a running play. Now, on one hand, I get it. You may say that's a really small thing. Does that really make a difference? But it's really the small things that eventually add up. Plus, for those counting, Ojomo's current rank among all defensive tackles in the NFL is Hurry's second place with 23, pressure rate is second with 14.4%, total pressures is sixth with 28, and his win percentage is 19.4%, which is seventh. Of course, there's a ton of guys who deserve shout-outs, especially on the defensive side, and we're going to get to those. But coming away, the win now, Eagles, I know it was not pretty, but getting that win, what's your outlook for the Birds? For me, I'm convinced this is a squad that can win the Super Bowl because the defense is getting better and better. Heck, the Eagles are 7-2 with a 3-game win streak, while the rest of the NFC East is on an 11-game losing streak. That's right, 11 games actually going so far for New York to finally get Brian Daboll fired after he mismanaged yet another game they were up by double digits. But that's another story for someone else's channel. For us, the good news is that according to ESPN Analytics, the Birds now have the best chance to land the number 1 seed in the NFC. Thanks to wins count them over the Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Los Angeles Rams. AKA Philly now holds the head-to-head tiebreaker versus each of those teams. And you probably already came to this conclusion, but that makes the Sunday Night Football matchup against the Detroit Lions that much more important because it's another one where we get a win, you add that to the list, head-to-head tiebreakers becoming very important. Granted, there's no denying a lot of those have been some nail-biters, but you got to give at least some credit to the guys that they're now 4-1 against teams with winning records. And get this, 3 of those 4 have come on the road this season. Oh yeah, the win on Monday night also moved Nick Sirianni to 5-0 coming off the bye and Jalen Hurts to 10-0 as a starter versus the NFC North.
Sometimes it's going to look really pretty. Sometimes it's not always going to look pretty in this league. We found a way to win. And offensively, obviously, that's not, we scored 10 points. Obviously, that's not enough points. Tonight it was, but it will be business as usual when we get back in there. We're happy with the result, but we don't get tied into it. We get tied into our standard.
Okay, my final score prediction was 27-17 coming into the game, so I was way off. I don't think many people had 10-7. If you did, more power to you. I felt like there'd be some rust, a little bit of sluggishness maybe, but there was rust, sluggishness, tiredness, lethargic attitudes, motivation, everything just telegraphed. I don't know, whatever else you want to call it. Now, while I got that prediction wrong, congrats to Random Poster 92 for getting the first touchdown score prediction correct via the 1 + 6 = 7 connection. So, Random Poster 92, dude, I just need to hear from you. DM me on one of the socials or email me at thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com so I can hook you up with winnings. Like I say, I'm not afraid to admit that 10-7 was not something I had on my bingo card. However, I will kind of, give myself a little credit here because I was saying to look out for Jalen Phillips, and that dude is a beast. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much of a better debut you can have. Come on, JP finished his first game with the Eagles with a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 8 pressures, 7 hurries, 6 tackles, 6 stops, and a 19.4 pressure rate. Oh yeah, and got the game ball for having the most pressures by an Eagle in one game this season.
And I think the biggest thing I noticed is just no panic. Like, the whole entire time, there was just utmost confidence on both sides of the ball. And it felt really good to just, be in that environment. And just to know, like I said, the defense was handling our job and offense did what they had to do. So, yeah, it was a great environment and just such a fun game to be a part of for the first one out.
He's insane. I mean, I just shared the stat line, but I'm telling you, in person, it's just different seeing the guys out there. He is a massive difference maker. This is a defensive line that looks nothing like they did in the past. So getting Jalen Phillips is insane. But again, like I say, one of the reasons I was super hyped to get out there was to see the D-line, this group, in person. Of course, the only way I was able to make that happen was courtesy of SeatGeek, the sponsor of today's video. And remember, as one of the season-long sponsors, every time the Eagles win, I'm going to give away 2 Eagles tickets to any regular season game of your choice. All you got to do is drop a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed, and then let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was from this past week's game. Also, SeatGeek wants to make sure everyone wins, so not only are they contributing to that, but they're giving all Philly Special Show subscribers 10% off your next set of tickets when you use my code SPECIAL10. And there's really not a better time to score your seats with the NFL and college football in full swing, and the NBA is back. So go ahead, take out your phone, open up the app, and add code SPECIAL10 to your account. Honestly, their app makes it super easy. It's one of the easiest to sort by event, and they put all the tickets in one place with the best deals coming up first. Plus, each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, with it being super easy to find thanks to the green dots. Just saying, there's a reason SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app and now season-long sponsor of the channel, and they were definitely the MVP of my trip. So again, big kudos to SeatGeek for the insane giveaways all season long. And remember, if you want to support the channel while getting a discount on your next set of tickets, then use code SPECIAL10. Also, no worries if you don't have the app yet, there's a link down in the description to get started.
It took 3 plays last night to hear Jalen Phillips have his name called. He was everywhere. And he was the single best defensive player on the field last night. Watch this long arm stab and the power right here. Collapse in the pocket where Jordan Love has no choice but to backtrack right into the weight and arms of Jalyx. That's how teamwork does it. One guy feeds another player. Now, you watch him here and disengage, take down Josh Jacobs, okay? All right, well done. Now, I just like the violence that he played with. Man. Disengagement. It's like Monday Night Raw. Just take Wilson right down to the ground. Beautiful. All right, now, tight ends, it's a rule, are not going to block Jalen Phillips ever. All right, it's a rule. Like if he was in a rodeo, that would be some good calf roping right there. Now, in this play right here, Nakobe Dean is going to come. One of the few times they blitz. And he is going to Josh Jacobs, a good blocker, he just ruined him. And so when Love right here tries to get the ball out, the ball's on the ground. They were in scoring position until Jalen Phillips recovered it. Fumble recovery, all right? All over the place. Now, you watch him right here, and he's a spy, all right? He's a spy and when Jordan Love breaks the pocket, you watch the speed that he chases Jordan Love down with. They got themselves not just a guy, they got themselves a great player. This is the type of pass rush they haven't seen all year. He swims Zach Tom, then he gets rid of him. Then he gets to Jordan Love. He is exactly what the Eagles needed. Exactly. 4th and 1. Here you go. 4th and 1. You ruin that tight end. You take Josh Jacobs down. Here comes Blankenship. Finish the game out. He finished the game. Blankenship recovers. Jalen Phillips wasn't just good. He was great. He was the best defensive player on the field.
Barton, without question, the best defensive player on the field was Jalen Phillips. I mean, it's not even close, but honestly, the most impressive aspect for me was seeing how comfortable he looked in Vic Fangio's defense. I mean, I get that he played for Fangio in the past, but JP made it look as if he'd been with the team since training camp. Just saying, remember the comment about this defense only continuing to get better? Yeah, well, they're the youngest defense in the NFL, and they're also back in the top 10 already for scoring defense. Now, having said that, I understand the squad has been inconsistent at times, but they really are showing up in high-leverage situations. Heck, it's why they're now leading the league in one-score games with a 6-1 record, and also, by the way, they've given up the fewest passing touchdowns this season with 8. Which, if you needed any proof for how good they are, then just look back to Monday night. I'm sorry, say what you will about Jordan Love, but he looked absolutely lost. As he was skipping reads, looked really uncomfortable in the pocket, and wasn't targeting the right areas of the field. Although, quite honestly, even when he did try to do that, he was not given much time. Big shout out to Devin Jackson, but the Eagles pressured Love on 17 of his 42 dropbacks. FYI, that is the second highest pressure rate he's faced this season. Meanwhile, under that pressure, Love completed just 3 for 12 passes for 21 yards and was sacked 3 times. Of course, watching the game, it wasn't just the pass defense. Really, the bigger win was probably the run defense shutting down Josh Jacobs. After all, through Week 5, Vic Fangio's group was 22nd in the league against the run, allowing 127 rushing yards per game and 24th, allowing 4.7 yards per carry. However, since that time, Fangio's unit has played the Vikings, Giants, and Packers and held them all below 4 yards per carry while also allowing just 87 yards per game. In case you're wondering, those numbers are the 13th best and 6th best in the league, respectively. Here's the thing. Green Bay wanted to get Josh Jacobs going, but weren't able to, with the Packers having to settle for 74 yards on 21 carries. Yet while it's good news for most of us, unfortunately, that's not good news for Jahad Campbell. Because while he's got some insane potential, Nakobe Dean's impact has been wild, in particular against the run. Like, get this, despite only 65% of snaps at Lambeau because of the rotation with Jihad, Dean finished with 6 solo tackles, which led the team, 1 tackle for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 sack, and a 90.1 grade, which was the highest in the game. Dude, Nakobe Dean, that's just the impact that he has. But you guys tell me if I'm crazy. The fact that the Eagles are starting to make teams one-dimensional, at least on the defensive side of the ball, make opposing offenses one-dimensional, it's starting to feel like the building momentum we had last season when this defense started to get just lights out. I mean, you saw it on Monday night. Jalen Carter and Moro Ojomo were dominant on the interior, and then the edge play of Jalen Phillips, Jalyx Hunt, and Nolan Smith were able to help take over the game and crank up the pressure. Oh, by the way, not that anyone's counting necessarily, but Nolan did end up getting a sack, which somehow keeps the streak alive for games that I've attended in person where he's also gotten a sack.
That's impressive.
Let me ask you, with the D-line playing the way that it was on Monday night, and really the entire defense as a whole, but mainly the D-line because of what it means for this next question, how are you feeling about CB2? You still as concern level on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is freak out, panic, we need somebody else. 1, we're good to go if it's Adoree Jackson, Jakorian Bennett, whoever it is, but how are you feeling about current roster and CB2? By the way, the reason I bring that up is because of the recent news from Jay Glazer reporting that cornerback Jaire Alexander has informed the Eagles that he's stepping away to focus on getting right physically and mentally.
Oh, not again.
That does now make it 2 times that we've had a veteran join the Eagles and then eventually end up stepping away. It was incredibly odd to see Philly look like they were going to play him against Green Bay, only to then leave him at home and inactive at the last second. Of course, first off, let me just say this. Prayers for Jaire in this situation because, most importantly, I respect the decision. If you got to get right mentally, physically, we've seen everything around the NFL certainly lately, but regardless of that, get right, take care of yourself. And by the way, it was made official that Jaire Alexander was placed on the reserve/retired list. Meanwhile, Philadelphia activated cornerback Jakorian Bennett officially from reserve. Not going to lie, I'm kind of excited to see Jakorian out there, but there's several different options for CB2. Or, and I know some of you may be against it, but I got to give Adoree Jackson a shout out because he only allowed 4 receptions on 6 targets for just 23 yards against Green Bay. And as Anthony DeBona pointed out, Adoree hasn't allowed more than 38 yards in a single game since his rough outing in Week 1. But be that as it may, judging by some of the comments on videos, live streams, other comments on social media, it's understandable. Adoree Jackson, maybe not the most priority guy for CB2. The eye test maybe tells you something differently. I get it. Not everybody's sold, especially when Asante Samuel Jr. is still out there and available. All right, most recent update here is that Samuel did sign to the Steelers practice squad. However, as you're probably aware, that's just a practice squad. Yeah, meaning Howie Roseman could literally swoop in at any second and sign him to the roster to steal him from Pittsburgh.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Maybe like a 2% chance, but for me, I'm going to say Jakorian Bennett, Adoree Jackson, those are the guys Fangio is going to roll with as the top options. Now, feel free to disagree with me in the chat, yet one thing we can agree on is Quinyon Mitchell on the path to becoming an All-Pro. I mean, that's almost a given with how he's performing right now, since Q's only allowed 25 receptions on 55 targets this season. Not to mention that he's also allowed the lowest passer rating and completion percentage out of all cornerbacks who've played at least 500 snaps. I mean, pressure or not, Q gets the job done. And speaking of pressure, Jalen Hurts, albeit not the best game from him in Lambeau, did show up during those moments, completing 5 of 9 passes for 61 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 113.7 passer rating. That was the good part, although like we brought up earlier, scoring 10 points is not going to win a lot of games. To be fair, the Eagles found a way. Winning is the only thing that matters. And the Packers' defense is really good. I've seen some people saying, oh yeah, but the Cowboys game and everything else. Cold weather games in that environment, the Packers' defense is built really well, especially stopping or trying to limit Philly. No wonder, teams are going to try to do that with the way the Eagles play and them kind of being the litmus test. But it is a good defense. At the same time, making excuses for Kevin Patullo after that performance with things like, oh, Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for the Packers, is a good one, is taking it a bit too far.
You're crazy. I like you, but you're crazy.
The flip side of that argument is saying Patullo needs to be fired for the performance because that's also taking it way too far. Yet I will give it to you that coming out of the bye week with an extra week to prep and then delivering very poor play sequencing combined with bad O-line play brought back the PTSD.
Oh no! We suck again!
I know the film shows it, so you can look this up too, but it was ridiculous. I mean, watching the game, sitting there, the number of times, I can't tell you how many times, the O-line getting beat quickly, Pressure's on Jalen Hurts, but then you look down the field, it's like, hey, there's only 2 receivers, maybe 3 receivers running routes, and the Packers had 7 guys in coverage. The problem is the running game wasn't working nearly as well either. Well, I take that back. That was after the first drive was killed behind a Jalen Hurts fumble. Just saying, the scripted portion of that first drive took almost 9 minutes off the clock and picked up 77 yards on 16 plays before the turnover. It's just that after losing the ball, it felt like everything got ultra conservative and predictable. Like Honest NFL said, you can tell what kind of day you're getting from the Eagles offense simply by looking at where their third downs are. Because yeah, too often this season, it's been overwhelmingly 3rd and long, and the results are what you'd expect from that. In case you weren't aware, Philly leads the league in 3 and outs. I'll say that again. Philly leads the NFL with the most 3 and outs. Which, come on, that's inexcusable when you've got 2 of the best wide receivers in the game, an MVP-level quarterback, a top 10 tight end, and arguably the best running back in the game. Yet what happens? The Birds get to 3rd and long and just run the football. For the record, the Eagles also lead the league in designed runs on 3rd and 7 or longer. Granted, the positive way to look at this, at least how Zach Berman phrased it, is that they're kind of in good company. Since the other teams with 10-plus designed runs on 3rd and long are the Seattle Seahawks, Indianapolis Colts, and Kansas City Chiefs.
It's the approach coming in. Every game is different. So I think from a macro perspective, you can look on the outside in and say, well, why are we not doing this game? Why are we not doing this in that game? Every game is different. And so there is a strategic game plan coming in of saying, maybe we want to approach it this way and maybe we don't want to approach it this way. And I think in hindsight, it was slow early on, kind of finding our footing in the game. And we found it when we needed to, right? I think, some opportunities where I definitely like to have some opportunities back, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. I know all of us as a unit would like to have some opportunities back, but, when it mattered the most, we showed up and we found ways to make plays and the ball went through the hoop. And so, regardless of whatever's going on, you got to keep shooting. You got to keep going. You got to keep attacking, and you have to trust within the unit that this is what we're going to do and going to have confidence in that. We got Saquon playing fullback on the play. That's something we've never done before. You may say, well, what's going on? It's like, well, you trust it in the heat of the moment, you're going to make it happen. And so, you have to have an aggressive mindset. You have to have an aggressive mindset. Having an aggressive mindset always minimizes mistakes in the end.
Look, some earlier aggressiveness would have been so much better outside of the first series because I'm going to give Patullo some credit. Again, I mentioned this a second ago, but the 16 plays, 77 yards, Patullo's first scripted calls were fine. It was everything beyond that. As it then felt like we had 2 head coaches who kind of seemed to be doing whatever they could to lose the game. I'm sorry, it was just brutal at times, and they might have been better off searching for good play calls on the tablets. And don't worry, it goes both ways. Heck, Matt LaFleur on 2nd and 7 or longer Monday ran it 75% of the time. And oh yeah, it's not like that was going well because keeping up that tendency, even though those runs were averaging less than 2 yards per carry. Yes! Okay, fine. For all that making fun, when the Eagles needed to really dial up an aggressive play call or at least a passing play, they did do that. Again, the 1 + 6 = 7 connection is a thing of beauty, but then when you consider the time of the game and situation, that 16-yard pass to Smitty on 3rd and 12 was massive. It's just crazy that it took so long to get that play called.
I feel like people forget that he won the Heisman. He's a pretty good football player, and I don't know why that's forgotten. How hard it is to win the Heisman, but shout out to Smitty. He comes up big for us every single time.
I will say this, Devontae made the most of his opportunities when they came his way. Of course, there were others that very clearly could have busted the game wide open. Like Jalen Hurts missing Grant Calcaterra on a seam route that pretty likely turns into 6, or another time when Saquon Barkley was about to make a house call, except Micah Parsons stuck his leg out for an illegal tripping that for whatever reason did not get called. However, as big of a miss as that was, the biggest missed call of the game was the one that was made, aka the decision from Nick Sirianni to go for it on 4th and 6 at the Green Bay 35.
What the hell is he doing?
It made no sense. It made no sense. 33 seconds left on the clock. You punt the football. Worst case scenario, it goes into the back of the end zone. You take some extra time off, goes in the back of the end zone. They get the ball at the 20 instead of the 35, so there's a 15-yard difference, right? Or, who knows, you have a good punt? It's at the 10-yard line or so. That's a 25-yard difference with only 30 seconds or so on the clock. I mean, it made no sense, especially because Sirianni had played it ultra-conservative all game long, until just about the last series of the game to go up against the analytics and even go for it. Of course, while Sirianni defended his actions in the press conference afterward, there's now been another report suggesting it was Jalen and AJ who decided to take the deep shot.
I have been told by multiple reliable sources that AJ and Jaelan went rogue again.
What?
If you remember correctly, Seattle Seahawks game 2023, Sirianni came up to the podium, said it was his decision. We found out weeks later from AJ himself. Coach made himself look like a clown. That was me and Jaelan going rogue. They did it again. And that is not opinion. That has been confirmed. Now, what I cannot confirm, if they didn't go rogue in that situation, what was the plan? Were you going to take a penalty and punt? Or did you just have another play called that wasn't that? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know AJ and Jaelan went rogue again, and that is a problem.
Square this up, though, because there's been a couple players who have indicated that that it was a Jaelan and AJ communication that led to that.
I knew exactly what the play was that we were calling, and that was run in that moment.
So they didn't check?
I knew exactly what the play was in that moment, what we called, and what was and what
the greater issue is why in the first 59 minutes was AJ never targeted beyond.
Were we in a debate, or is that what?
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask.
What's the question?
But why wasn't AJ targeted beyond the first two drives, and it took until that moment for you guys to throw to him deep?
Yeah, again, games, if you look at the game and how the game went, there's a lot of plays in that game that are going to them that for different reasons don't.
Can you describe what it's like to be inside your group, looking outside at all the chatter that surrounds you all?
It only matters what we do inside the building, man. It's only about those guys that's in there, the coaches. When you're having success, you're going to have people that's, going to talk about you, talk down, and going to hate on you. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't doing something right.
Look, whoever made that call, I still would have much rather had a punt in that situation. I know it worked out, but come on, you have to punt the football there. Ultimately, you're right, though. It didn't matter, but I suppose the silver lining is that if Jaelan and AJ decided to go deep, then at least that means they're on the same page. Which, honestly, I think I'd take as a bigger win because being there in person, being able to see more plays down the field that the TV broadcast does not show, I made it a specific point to watch AJ and Jaelan to see the connection. Was he looking his way? Is there any disconnect there? And not gonna lie, but I wouldn't say it was the most promising for Monday night. Of course, some of it was play calling, yet there were other times that Jaelan just blatantly missed AJ or didn't even look his way.
I promise you, you might get 200. And I ain't even trolling.
Hey. If you got me on fantasy, man, get rid of me.
By the way, making this clear now, not trying to start any drama. People are going to, you're making this up, or AJ and Jaelan. I was asked about it specifically, asked to keep an eye on it, was watching it as objectively as I can, but it didn't look great for the most part, just trying to find the connection. Obviously, you come away from any game with 2 catches, 2 targets, not getting much, 3 targets, whatever it was, not getting much attention. Not the best signs, but maybe, again, if they went rogue or whatever you want to call it, they made their own play, they said, hey, we're on the same page here. It's a small win, kind of. Either way, the good news is the Eagles are in the driver's seat in the standings and have another great opportunity in front of them with the Lions coming to town. As always, I'll keep you posted on the latest news, but make sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on so you don't miss out. Also, one more thing, wanted to say thank you to everyone who stopped to say hi at the game. I've said it a million times and I'll continue to say it, but you guys are the ones that make this channel and community what it is, so thank you. All right, been traveling a lot, kind of unorthodox schedule, more videos, giveaways to come, should be back to regularly, I know I've said this in the past, but regularly scheduled programming, nothing crazy beyond this, not taking any other trips planned, except for the NFC Championship game whenever we're hosting that one. But for now, let me know your thoughts, takeaways, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything else. I'll catch you on the next one. This has been the Philly Special.
Like I should feel like